Hi, everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we're back today to talk about TNG number 30, Debtors Planet. Written by the esteemed W.R. Thompson, and this was published in 1994, of course, by Pocket Books. Debtors Planet number 30 in the TNG series, a milestone to get here, in the read. So very excited to finally hit number 30. We've got a ways to go, but we're getting there. So let's jump right in with the back cover here. Debtor's Planet. When a Vulcan space probe reports that the Ferengi are advancing the people of the planet Megara from a primitive agricultural state to a sophisticated technological society, Captain Jean-Luc Picard and the Starship Enterprise are ordered to transport an unlikely passenger to the system, a ruthless 20th century businessman who is now a Federation ambassador. The Ferengi have been changing Megaran culture, turning a hard-working and honorable people into vicious, xenophobic killers. But the Ferengi are only hired hands. They have hidden masters with plans to use the Megaran people as a powerful weapon against the Federation. Now Picard must find a way to use the talents of this new ambassador to free the Megarans, but the ambassador is hiding a deadly secret of his own. A secret that could unleash an unstoppable destructive force on the Federation. I don't even know what that's talking about. That's not even part of the book. I don't remember the ambassador having a secret that would... He does have a secret, but not the kind of secret that they're laying out here. So maybe between the writing the back cover, there was some editing done in the book, and maybe they just didn't quite get the full story. But again, that's why I say there's no point in reading the back of this book, because you just read the book, and then you know it, and then you don't get spoiled. Because that did give away some of the more interesting parts here. So, again, as the back cover, well, hold on. We'll start doing this kind of in a certain format that I'll attempt to stick to. I will give my opinion on the book, and I won't go into too much of a rant on it. And then when that's done, then I'll just go into ranting on the book. So anyway, Debtor's Planet is a fun book. It's lighthearted, even though maybe the topic's kind of a little bit deep. The author goes into a lot of humor. And there's a lot of different scenes in here that really basically are written into the book, just for the sake of being something funny happening at the time. And just lots of little silly character interactions. And so if you're looking for like a very fun, kind of light Star Trek book, then this is definitely something that you would enjoy. You're going to get some laughs along the way. Some of the characterization is maybe not perfect, but again, it's funny, and it hits some pretty solid jokes, especially with some stuff with Worf, which is really, really good. So I enjoy that very much. I guess I would say it wasn't exactly what I expected going in, but all in all, it was a very fun book. So that's the spoiler-free talk. Now let's just dive right into it. As the back says, the book starts off showing a Vulcan probe getting destroyed by a Ferengi ship after scanning this planet, which wasn't supposed to be at this level of technology that it's at. But the back says something about... Well, anyway, the back gives a little bit too much information and doesn't exactly tell the right thing. But the Federation is sent to investigate, and they have to pick up an ambassador, a special ambassador, and Picard has been ordered that basically this ambassador is going to be given kind of full command of this mission. But before they get too deep into the story, they start out the book with a fun scene of Worf, Data, and Riker basically watching a bad, kind of like a B-class movie together. An attempt for Riker to kind of get Worf to laugh is kind of the goal that he's going for. So again, it's a fun, lighthearted book. You get these weird little scenes that you just wouldn't expect. Worf walking down the corridor of the Enterprise, carrying some ga and some prune juice, bringing snacks to watch the movie with Commander Riker. So, and they're watching some kind of ridiculous, B movie, action movie with ridiculous over-the-top action in an attempt to get Worf to laugh. So, the book contains lots of little scenes like that, which are fun. But the main story is that they're off to get this ambassador. And who is this ambassador? And when I picked up the book, I was like, who is this character on the front? He does look awfully familiar. And the character on the front is Mr. Ralph Offenhouse. And now, if you remember him, he was from an episode of TNG, I think it was called The Neutral Zone, where he was recovered in an ancient ship where he was cryogenically frozen in the 20th century and sent off into space. And him and 2 other people survived the process, and Dr. Crusher was able to revive them and bring them back to life. And it was a fun little episode, and they're able to kind of add their 20th century opinions to what's going on then. And this character, Ralph Offenhouse, even kind of helps out in the end, giving Picard some advice on the Romulan that he's currently dealing with. So he plays, he's probably like, I would say he's the main character of the book. I mean, he definitely takes like the focus of the book. So the main focus of the book is kind of him and his interactions with all these other characters. So he's in charge of the mission to Megara. And Megara is, like I said, exhibiting signs of advanced technological output, way faster than they were expected. So they realize that there's probably something going on, something that the Ferengi are doing, and Offenhouse is sent to investigate because he has a special kind of understanding, I guess, of the Ferengi being from where he was at. So, and I'm going to go right out and say I took terrible notes. There's like nothing there. There's like nothing. So my recounting of this book may be entirely infactual and incorrect, but we're going to try our very best to work through it, and we'll see where we get. But they get to the planet, and from what I remember, Offenhouse hails the Ferengi ship, and that's another kind of the fun part of this book, is how he deals with these Ferengi through this kind of like insulting, bantering way of speaking with them. And he's able to kind of work his way in and get under this Captain or Damon Chuduk's skin, So his interactions with the Ferengi are interesting. His interactions with Picard are interesting. And at first everybody is kind of like thinking he's kind of a joke, and like there's nothing that this 20th century brute can do to actually help us out here. But then his character kind of like grows on a lot of the people throughout the book. Picard mostly, because they kind of spend the most time together. So, well, basically, Offenhouse has the idea he wants to send down different crews of people, not just like Federation, but civilians, to kind of shop Megara, see what's going on there, and kind of get an idea of what's happening. So they send down several different crews, and this is where you're introduced to another side character they bring in, an insectoid species, an ensign named Shrev. And she and Wesley are kind of friends, and they go down together. They do some shopping, and in doing so, they're able to kind of see the state of the planet, and that most of the planet lives in poverty. There's rampant corruption, there's rampant counterfeiting, there's a lot going on, and it doesn't make sense to what should be going on. So like Offenhouse thinks that the Ferengi are trying to set up some way to make money, but everything that they see on the planet is pointing in the opposite direction. Like, this is not profitable, there's nothing happening there. So they realize that there must be kind of something more going on. So during the course of the book, they kind of intersperse other little characters to introduce you. So you get to meet some of the Megarans. There's an old soldier named Anit, who is basically now a kind of like a trash collector. He goes and he collects trash and he sells what he can in a shop. He doesn't have an eye and he's missing an arm, so he can't get a work permit, which is one of the way the Ferengi kind of keep a control on this whole populace. So you have to have a work permit to work and get money and food, and if you don't, then you're forced into a life of either like begging or like scrounging or crime or something like that. So you meet this character. You also meet one of the Ferengi factory managers, this Megaran named Odaville Party, and she has been subjected to Ferengi's like neural learning thing. So they put this helmet on the Megarans, who initially were like literate, and it gives them, through just like an hour of this thing, an education, like a college education. But it can also damage them. There's a chance it can damage. So in the Federation, this thing's illegal, but they've been using it on these people, and they use it on her, and it has definitely like affected her. But it has increased her intelligence, and she's in charge of one of the main factories there on Megara. So now that they know there's a little bit of something more going on, Offenhouse decides that they're going to beam down to the planet and establish or get a meeting with the head leader of Megara, who is this woman named Vogatan, who is, they've come to learn, has kind of consolidated the planet through power, but is basically somewhat a puppet ruler, being backed by the Ferengi. So they seek an audience with this Vogatan, and Offenhouse, of course, beams down in this ridiculously outlandish outfit with this like giant medal and this huge brim top hat, just kind of going like the whole 9 yards, trying to like out Ferengi the Ferengi and just show like how opulent and great he is, I guess. And again, that's one of the funner parts of the book, is just him playing back and forth with this Ferengi. So they beam down, and after basically kind of getting the runaround, they are told by Vogatan that she's not interested in dealing with the Federation, and they're sent away. I think it's at this point during the story when they reveal, and everybody's already kind of had their suspicions, that there's a third party at play here. And there is an undercover group of Cardassians, and I think the leader's name is Verdine or something like that, and they are all cosmetically altered, so they all look like Megarans. But they are the basically the shadow hand at play here in the story, and they are the ones that are getting the Ferengi to do what they're doing. And they haven't still totally revealed what the whole final plot is, but these Cardassians now realize that with the Federation here, they have to act now, so they actually make a move to kill all the Federation members that are down on the planet, kill or capture or do whatever they can with them. So they are successful in capturing Captain Picard and Offenhouse, and they lock them up in the dungeon of the Vogatan's castle there, and they get ready to send their chief interrogator there to interrogate Picard and the ambassador. They strip them of all their stuff, of course, except for they get he keeps his nice hat and everything. Remember that. But yeah, so they're captured there, and the interrogator's on the way. The other away teams were attacked, but everybody's kind of safely beamed up to the planet. So there was no real big drama there. And that's kind of one of the big themes of this book, is nothing too dangerous happens to any of the crew, really. There's a few little battle scenes, and they seem kind of like to be pushed through quickly, just to get to the more fun stuff, really. And in a book like this, that's kind of exactly what you're looking for anyway. So Picard and Offenhouse, again, their interaction is fun in the book, but now they're captured in the dungeon. And luckily, Offenhouse has thought of everything, and built into the brim of his hat is a saw. Because he's thinking, who's going to look for a saw on the brim of a hat when we're in, this century? And by God, it actually works. And nobody looks for the saw on his hat. And they are able to use the saw to cut the bars and escape from the castle. And they go out the window, they escape from the castle, they run into the woods. It's at this point where this Odaville Party, who's getting kind of fed up with this Ferengi situation that's going on, has seen an opportunity to enlist the help of the Federation. So she, through a series of bribes or whatever, gets help from another guard to track down Picard and Offenhouse so that she can speak with them and set something up. So that actually works out perfectly. Offenhouse and Picard are captured by that group. They meet up with this Odaville party, and even though they don't have communicators because everything was taken, they're able to work out a general talk. It's at this time when, back on the ship, they've kind of got it together and they're able to kind of figure out what's going on. There is a whole little additional side story here, but it just plays such a small part, where Alexander is hanging out in engineering with Geordi because of reasons, and he suggests an idea to... They're trying to figure out a way to find a cloaked ship, basically, because they need just... they're worried about something possibly that could happen. So they do a series of experiments, and they come up with this way to detect a cloaked ship, and they're able to use it to detect the Cardassian ship that is in the area that is getting ready to move in and strike on them. With this new detector, they're able to outwit the Cardassians, and when the Cardassians move to destroy the Ferengi are able to also kind of... they do something. They send like a signal to the Cardassians that momentarily lowers their shields. The Enterprise is able to strike the ship. The Cardassians self-destruct. The Enterprise drags it off away from the planet, and it explodes. And it's such a very small part of the book, and that's the space action. That's the space action section of the book that I've just explained there. But the real story is the fun with Offenhouse and everything that happens there on the planet itself. So, even with no notes, this is not such a bad little rant here, I suppose. So, back on the planet, you've got Odaville talking with Picard, trying to kind of work out a deal. The Cardassians realize that things have gone terribly wrong, so now they are going to evacuate their main base and move back to their next base, which is where these kind of starships have all been stored. And the starships are the ultimate goal of these factories that they've been doing. And it's kind of revealed at this point in the story that the main plot of the Cardassians was to industrialize this planet and then put it in such a state where they all turned to piracy. So that was the point of driving them all into poverty and making them have to do these awful things, was so that when they achieve space flight, they would just become pirates and become a thorn in the Federation's side, and the Federation would be distracted when the Cardassians did whatever they did. And that was the idea. And it's a pretty good plan, but it completely fell apart. And so, the rest of the book is now, how do they fix, the fallout of it? What can they do to solve this situation? They track down the last of the Cardassians, and then there's a slight bit of a fun action sequence where they take out the last of the Cardassians. There's some stuff in the middle, too, where when Picard is captured, Worf kind of gathers up a crew of Megarans, along with Anit, to track him down, and so there's some interesting things there, especially when there's trouble and they beam Worf up. And they beam him up, and he's got his club over his head, and he's ready to strike, and he's like, beam me back down. And Captain Picard's like, well, beam him back down. So, and they beam him back down, and he gets captured, and it's kind of a silly part in the book, but it's kind of a silly book, nonetheless. But, again, it's fun, and that's the point. Back on the planet now, basically things are going to now resolve themselves. The Vogetan initially was going to be assassinated by the Ferengis. They're able to save her, get her back on the Enterprise. And again, she was kind of a puppet ruler, and she's not happy with the Ferengi. So now she has a chance to kind of get her revenge on them. Down on the planet, all the Ferengis they've had to evacuate from their ship in orbit and kind of beam down. The ship was uninhabitable. And the Megarans have started to riot against them. And seeing this, Captain Picard is like, well, we can't just let all these, I think there's something like hundreds of Ferengi down there just die. So he has his ship start beaming all the Ferengi up and putting them in the cargo bay, kind of on protective custody for now. It's at this point in the book when Offenhouse is like, no, Picard, don't do that. Just let the Megarans kill them, and that will be justice. But Odeville Party is like, no, that's not how we want to do things. That's how the Rat Eyes would do things. That's what they called the Ferengis. So that's when, like, this Offenhouse House sees that this Magarin Odeville Party is like better than, better than the Ferengi, and has a chance to move on better. And that's when they kind of get the idea that since the Ferengi had this bogus contract, now they can actually enforce it. So now they bring all the Ferengis back to the planet, but now not to kill them, but to work for them, and to, instead of building just starships, now they're going to be building hospitals and universities and other actual useful things for a planet to bring the planet Megara out of poverty and make it something actually useful. And then this Ralph Offenhouse, he'll be the ambassador to the planet, and he's going to help them do that and bring that back. So, yeah, I don't think I missed anything. I think I hit all the high points. Probably not all of them. But I will say it was a very, very, very funny book. Definitely more than once there were jokes in here that got a solid laugh out of me. Oh, the darkness. But anyway, I would say, again, if you're looking for something fun, something lighthearted, Debtors Planet is going to do it for you. And I always like a TNG book that takes something, a character, a plot point, something from an episode, and then kind of expands upon that a little bit. And that's what Debtors Planet did here. And that's what I thought was really cool. So it was fun to see this Ralph Offenhouse character brought back, this person out of time. And the writer did a good job of playing him off of all the other characters. And I was really happy with how he did all that. So, a very fun book. It looks like W.R. Thompson only wrote one other Trek book, which is coming down the line here at some point. I think it's number 47. But, again, very happy to read this one. And now that I've hit number 30 for TNG, we're going to switch it up. And we're going to read something, I think something completely different. Well, it'll still be Star Trek, of course. But we'll move on from TNG, and we'll try to look and see, kind of flip back through the old journal. What or who are we not reading enough of? Do we need some more TOS? Is there some more DS9 in my life that I'm missing? I'm sure all of it. But I'm going to think on it and really see what should be next in line here. But anyway, Debtors Planet was fun. Read it if you'd like to have a laugh. And tune in next time, and we'll see what we're going to read then. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Live long and prosper. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.